Hey everyone, Finny here from Finny Reads. Welcome back to my channel. Today with another video in my wrapping up 2025 series. And today in particular, I want to talk about all the books that were released in 2025 that I also read in 2025. To do that, I'm actually going to share my screen with you because I prepared a tier list. I did that last year already and I had a lot of fun ranking the different books. So I decided to do it again. The categories that I picked for this year. First one, is this a favorite of the year contender? And you have to then watch next week's video where I'm talking about my top 10 books with some honorable mentions, but we might give you a sneak peek here already. Then definitely worth reading in 2025, meaning this was a book that I was glad I picked up in the same year it came out. I'm glad I got to read it right away and I enjoyed it a lot. Next up is I had a good time with it, but I probably could have waited another year to read it or another 2 or 3 years to read it. And then meh. I didn't like it. And no matter which time I would have read it, I wouldn't have enjoyed it. And we jump right on in. So let's start tier list. And the first book that I have here is That Has Been Cookbook by Danielle Valentine, an author that I've read another book before. The other book was a Rosemary's Baby retelling. I'm blanking on the name right now, but it doesn't matter. We're talking about That Has Been Cookbook. As you can probably see on the cover, you can see, like it's a thriller, but you can probably also see what the theme of it is. Yes, I definitely enjoyed my read with it. It was relatively fast-paced, more like on the fast medium-paced side. It had some interesting characters, it had an interesting background story, it had some interesting twists and then some far-fetched moments where like, what is going on here? And what I thought was interesting, it had recipes across the book because it is about a very famous cook that has a cook show and whatnot and someone visiting her, blah blah blah. Anyway, I don't think I needed to read it in 2025. It would have been totally fine reading that at any later time. And yeah, I had a good time with it. So short preamble for that one. I had a good time with it. It was definitely fun and twisty, but I don't think this was a book that I definitely had to read this year. Again, I could have, at any later time. Dreams of the Fallen. My goodness, that was a roller coaster read. So Dreams of the Fallen by A.S. Callworth is a dark fantasy, very gritty, 2 POV perspective. And yeah, it was a roller coaster for the reason that I started reading it and I actually struggled with it quite a bit at the beginning. It took me to read the novella and then read yet another chapter. I was about to discover all of the connections, but reading the novella that comes before this called Empire's End, and then continuing and finishing the final chapter, it then all clicked together and I was blown away by the whole thing. So this one was definitely one worth reading in 2025, even though it's just a book 1 in a series and I don't know when book 2 is going to come out. It didn't leave on a cliffhanger ending, which is a good thing. And I actually think this is a potential favorite of the year because again, once it clicked, it was such a cool premise. The magic system, very light magic system, was really, really cool. The characters were super fascinating. It's one of those 2 POV stories where you don't know who's the good character or who's the good side, who's the bad side. And a lot of really cool kind of twists and discoveries along the way, and I love these types of stories. All right, next up is a romance novel, which is The Trolley Method by Elle Kennedy, which is, I believe, a 3rd book in the series, but I didn't read book 1 and 2, so, I just jumped into this one. It's college, a white shoes romance, lots of spies, my goodness. And yeah, I don't know I needed to read it this year. It was more kind of a mood pickup. But I definitely had a good time with this book. My goodness, yeah, it definitely has moments where it's like, whew. It's fun. It's a popcorn read, right? It's a very fast-paced popcorn read. It has some good relationship moments with the 2 male characters and the 1 female character. But, as it is sometimes with these types of romance novels, the conflict felt kind of forced and, I don't know, unnecessary. Oh, next up, One Grimm Night by Chad Nicholas. This is a fairy tale retelling, so horror, fantasy, kind of. It falls more into the horror category, I think. And this was incredibly well done. I had so much fun with this one. First of all, it is like a limited setting. We're just in a cabin and we're following various different fairy tale characters, and part of it is figuring out which fairy tale characters we're actually following right now. And then it's such an incredible vivid writing and such an incredible vivid reading experience. Oh my goodness, like this was so good. And I definitely want to read more by this author now that I read this book. So it was definitely worth reading immediately the moment it came out. And it's actually going to be a favorite of the year, maybe. Who knows? You have to see it next week. But my goodness, this was so good. This was something I have never read anything like this before, and it was just so cool. Yeah, I highly recommend you checking this out if you like darker fairy tale retellings. Next up is Ethos, which is a dark fantasy anthology by multiple authors that unfortunately I didn't write down. Great. I'll blend it in here so you'll see it. But it's definitely, I think it's B.H. Garcia is one of them, Benjamin Averin is one of them, and it's just six short stories in a 300 some odd page anthology. And I'm usually not a big fan of anthologies. You have like 1, 2, 3 stories that are great, and then the rest is kind of meh. And for this one, I have to say that the majority, actually 5 out of the 6 stories, I absolutely loved, and the other one was still fantastic. And I'm impressed by all of these authors on how well their world building and their character development worked in this little page amount, because the book is, I don't know, 400 some odd pages, and you have 6 short stories in there. That is not a lot of page count to tell your story, and it was incredible. Some of these belong to bigger universes by the authors. Others are just short stories in and in itself. They don't belong to another universe, so you can just read them and then have fun with it. This was a Kickstarter campaign that I also backed. This was worth reading in 2025. I had a really good time with that. First of all, the cover is really cool. It was worth reading in 2025. Short summary. Next up, a thriller. And I believe this was actually a Thrill, Chill, Kill book club book by the Chapter Conundrum and the Bookish Drummer. Every year they put together like a mystery, thriller, horror type of 1 book a month book club. And I believe this was January or February. I'm not 100% sure. I really liked this till the very ending. And the ending completely ruined this for me. This was such a dumb ending. I don't even know what happened. It was such a cool story set on a remote island, so limited setting, with some really cool, weird, like what the hell is going on type moments here. And then the ending was all over the place and totally stupid. So this was a meh book, and I could have done without it. And honestly, till I'm now seeing this and preparing this, I forgot all about it. And that is a good thing. I will forget it immediately after this one again. Let's rather talk about Julie Clark's The Ghostwriter, which was another, I think it's marketed as a thriller, but I actually think it's more a mystery novel, slower paced. This is also a dual timeline. So we're getting the view of today, and we're getting kind of a like flashback memories type thing into the past. This is about a ghostwriter who picks up the job of writing the memoir of her father. Not everybody knows it, though, that is her father. He's like a famous musician, I believe. So she is driving to his house because she needs the money. That's why she is accepting it. Otherwise, she wouldn't have wanted anything to do with him. Anyway, so she's driving to his estate and writing the memoir with him. And there was something that happened in his past, like a murder essentially happened. And no one really ever figured out who the murderer was. But writing this memoir uncovers all of these things, and you're slowly, being let into the whole secret. I loved that it had mixed media moments where you found like snippets out of Wikipedia or saw images from like a newspaper article or that kind of stuff. And I love the slow burn. I can see that it might put off some other people. The twists are mostly well thought out. And yeah, I mean, it's a good story. It has some great character moments, but it's nothing special. Nothing super special. So I definitely had a good time with it. It is a weird thing because I really enjoyed it. I actually met the author. She was in the town where this takes place, which is about an hour away from where I live. The town where this takes place, there's a bookstore, and she actually, had an interview there and for the release date. And my husband and I drove up there and did this. I had a good time, but now that it has been a while that I read it, I'm like, yeah, it was good. Would I reread it? Probably not. Is it good that I read it on the release night. Well, I mean, kind of, because I got to meet the author because of that. But yeah, I could have read it at any later time. It is fun though. Like if you like slow burn mysteries where it is really slowly uncovered what is happening, and where you get a lot of just, you know, conversation about life and whatnot, I definitely recommend that you check this out. Oh, the next one is going to hurt. Book 8 of the Ghostwriter series was released in 2025, Falling in a Sea of Stars by Kristen Britton, which is my all-time fantasy series. The series has accompanied me for many, many years, like 20 years at this point. I don't know, for many years. And I have waited many years for the next book in the series to come out. And it's such a good series. It's like, I love the main character. I love everything about it. Unfortunately, Book 7, Winterlight, was already, and Book 8, Falling in a Sea of Stars, was also not really satisfying, unfortunately. The problem is that Kristen Britton wrote a lot more of Book 8, and then the publisher decided to split it. And, you know, make it 2 books. So we get the first half of what she meant to be Book 8, and it feels like a first half of a book. There's a lot of setup, a lot of kind of things starting, but no real resolution on anything, no answers on anything. It was kind of a frustrating reading experience. So, I mean, overall, of course, it was Ghostwriter, so it was great to be back in the world, but it was not satisfying. And I really, really hope that we are getting the second half of the book that technically is written at this point. I mean, I probably not edited or anything, but I really hope that we are getting this soon, ideally in 2026, so we can actually get some conclusion and get some answers and some, you know, hopefully satisfactory answers. Ooh, Finlay Donovan, another favorite mystery series of mine. This is a more popcorny one with a lot of humor. It's about an author who in book 1 gets mistaken for a serial killer, and because of that ended up in a really weird situation, and the series is about all the aftermath that happened through that. A lot of quirky moments, amazing characters, really lovable characters too, really fast-paced. And that is a series where we'll read the books that are coming out always when they're coming out. So this was absolutely worth reading immediately after or shortly after. Library took a little bit for me to get it, but this was definitely worth reading in 2025. It was such a great story. I had so much fun with it. Great popcorn read. Highly recommend this series in general. Next up was Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, which is book 3 in the whatever the series, Empyrean Saga. I forgot what the series is called. It's epic fantasy to a certain extent, with a heavy romance plot. I actually really like this one. I know this is an unpopular opinion because a lot of people hated it, but we got so much meat to the story in this one, so much background information, so many more why, like motivation, character moments, and why these characters are doing what they are doing. We got to see a lot more of the world. We got to fly around with the dragons. I actually cried. There was a moment in the series closer to the end where something happened, and I actually shed a tear because it was so sad. So yeah, this was absolutely worth reading in 2025. Is it the best book ever written? No, it's cheesy and there are a lot of weird moments in there, but listen, this is so much fun. Next up, Outcast Mage by Annabelle Campbell. This is also a first book in a series where the series name is, it's gone. I have no idea what the series is called. I actually don't even know if we already have a release date for book 2 of this, and I don't even know if it's supposed to be a duology, trilogy, whatever. This was one of those where I didn't meant to read book 1 right away. I knew I wanted to read this series, and I really enjoyed this book, this entry in this series. But my problem is I already know I need to reread it when book 2 is coming out. So I had a good time with it, but I actually am mad at myself that I've read it this year already. I should have waited, because it leaves a lot of things kind of open, and it is, as it is typical with these types of series, it's a setup, right? Like it's an introduction into the world. It tells you more about the character. There's a lot of good stuff happening. There's kind of a class system with, rich, poor type of situation. And there's so many great fantasy elements, and I had a fantastic time reading this. But yeah, I wish I would have waited. I wish I would have trusted my gut, what I usually do with these types of things, and would have waited on that one. On the contrary, with Venomborn, which is also the first book in a series, Benjamin Aaron is the author. He is actually re-releasing this entry in the series, the first book with a new cover, and then releasing book 2 in April of 2026. Benjamin Avon is a favorite author of mine. I love his fantasy books. I love the Rainfall trilogy that I've read before, where book 3 came out last year in 2024, and I was so excited to get through this. And this was, I knew it the moment he had a date out, I knew I would read this. So this is a favorite of the year. It is as good as his other series. It is a banger of a fantasy series. The premise is so unique. He really has a talent for writing unique fantasy worlds, magic systems, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, you hear me talk about this again in my favorites video. This year was the year of cozy, witchy fantasy, and I read a lot of them throughout the year, including the second book in Sangu Mandana's series. This is, oh god, this has a super long title, A Witch's Guide to Magical Inkeeping. I also read book 1 this year, which was a lot of fun, and that started my whole cozy witchy kind of streak. This is book 2 in the series that I obviously read right after I read book 1, unfortunately. This was not as good as book 1. I did not like it at all. This was trying to be something much bigger than a cozy fantasy should be, like big political problems that she was trying to solve in this story. And yeah, I did not really enjoy it. I'm sorry. I did not enjoy this. I don't even know if I would pick up another book by her in that same series. I think this is one of those where it should have been one book and then she should have moved on to something else. I don't know. I might, just to see if maybe book 2 was a fluke. We'll see. All right, now I have to skip to the end because this is the next book that is here in my list is actually a book 2 in a series. So let me get to the book 1 in that series first, which is, it's a long title, Harvest Magic and Other Poor Decisions by Lauren Petrozilka, also a new favorite author of mine for this year. I've read her Venomborn trilogy and loved it. It was such a good story. So no surprise, I picked up her Harvest release, which is a novella in this case. It's like 104 pages of something about a cozy witch. She is a baker in this case. She owns a bakery and she creates like Desire Danishes and whatnot. I need to look up what all of the pastries were called. Desire Danish is the one that I remember, but she has like, I think it's a courage croissant or something like that. The cutest names. And I loved the witchy vibes of it. I think, yeah, so worth reading in 2025. I think there's no question about it. I loved reading about it. I loved the romance side of things. So there's a romance aspect in the story as well. I loved the witchy elements of it. There is a witch in the story called Josephine, so how can I not love this? So, Harvest Magic was fantastic. And then she just released at the end of December Yuletide Bargains, which is book 2 in the series, same world. We're following the same main character. The love interest is still going and the love interest gets kidnapped in this case. This one didn't work out quite as well as book 1 for me because I wanted this to be so much longer. In this one, we're moving into the Fae realm, following the kidnapping because the male love interest is half Fae. And there were so many cool things happening, but they happened too fast. And by the time I understood, oh, there's a twist going on, the twist was already revealed. So I would have loved to get more time with the book and spend more time with the characters in that other world to just, get deeper into things and uncover the twist a bit slower and just enjoy it more. So as you can see, I had a fantastic time with it. That was a little bit of a, oh man, I wish it would have been longer. Okay, next up, also 2 books that were both released, like it's a duology. Both of the books were released in 2025. The first one was The Witch Roads by Kate Elliott, which is a first book in a duology, as I said, epic fantasy series. It's essentially about a journey. So the main character, is on a journey, but the real cool part of it is as she is on the journey with all the characters around her, we are learning more about the world, the political intrigue, all those kind of things. And the way Kate Elliott told the story is so cool because you would think, well, they're just walking on that road. Like, what is so interesting about it? But trust me, read this book. It's such a cool, slow burn story. And it's the only book this year where I yelled out loud at something that happened at the very end of the book. And I was so frustrated with it in a good way, in a very positive way, because I was very engaged with the characters and with the story. So this, absolutely is on the top of my list with book 2 as well. So I was so happy that we got book 2 just a couple of months after book 1, because I needed that closure and I needed to know what was going on. So I highly recommend to read both relatively close to each other, because book 1 leaves you on quite a cliffhanger and you just need to know what is going on in book 2. So thank you, Kate Elliott, and thank you, Tor, the publisher, for publishing those relatively close with each other, so we didn't have to wait a year or 2 or 3 to get that closure. And then the last book that I'm going to talk about is like a fun popcorn fantasy read about 3 retired, I call it superheroes, it's slightly different, but let's just roll with that, who have to save the world one more time. And they're doing this while complaining, while the back aches, while they're having a hard time getting out of bed and getting going in the morning. And this was a blast to read. Like, I had so much fun with the story. I am absolutely glad I read it. And yeah, you might want to check out my favorites of the year video to hear me talk about this a bit more. That's it. Those are the 2025 releases that I actually read in 2025. Did you check out any of those? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with my ranking here, or do you think I'm completely off with that? Let me know down in the comments what your favorite 2025 release was and what you enjoyed about it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you get notified once my top books of 2025 video is out and ready for you to watch. I'm so excited to share this video with you and to talk about these books with you. Until then, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I see you soon with another video. Bye!